They burned the city when Wandle Placehold was 2 years old, and again when he was 7. At 7, he saw and understood more. The women waited with the children in the courtyard through a day and a night and another day. The day sky was black and red. The night sky glowed red and orange, dazzling and strange. Across the street, a granary burned like a huge torch. Strangers trying to fight the fire made shadow pictures. The Placehold men came home with what they'd gathered: shells, clothing, cookware, furniture, jewelry, magical items, a cauldron that would heat up by itself. The excitement was infectious. Men and women paired off and fought over the pairings. And Pothafit went out again with Reselet, but only Reselet came back. Afterward, Wandle went with the other boys to watch the loggers cutting redwoods for the rebuilding. The forest cupped Tepstown like a hand. There were stories, but nobody could tell Wandle what was beyond the forest, where redwoods were pillars big enough to support the sky, big enough to replace a dozen houses. The great trees stood well apart, each guarding its turf. Lesser vegetation gathered around the base of each redwood like a malevolent army. The army had many weapons. Some plants bristled with daggers. Some had burrs to anchor seeds in hair or flesh. Some secreted poison. Some would whip a child across the face with their branches. Loggers carried axes, and long poles with blades at the ends. Leather armor and wooden masks made them hard to recognize as men. With the poles they could reach out and under to cut the roots of the spiked or poisoned lesser plants and push them aside, until one tall redwood was left defenseless. Then they bowed to it. Then they chopped at the base until, in tremendous majesty and with a sound like the end of the world, it fell. They never seemed to notice that they were being watched from cover by a swarm of children. The forest had dangers for city children, but being caught was not one of them. If you were caught spying in town, you would be lucky to escape without broken bones. It was safer to spy on the loggers. One morning, Banch and Ilther brushed a vine. Banch began scratching, and then Ilther. Then thousands of bumps sprouted over Ilther's arm, and almost suddenly it was bigger than his leg. Banch's hand and the ear he'd scratched were swelling like nightmares, and Ilther was on the ground, swelling everywhere, and fighting hard to breathe. Shastern wailed and ran before Wandle could catch him. He brushed past leaves like a bouquet of blades, and was several paces beyond before he slowed, stopped, and turned to look at Wandle. What should I do now? His leathers were cut to ribbons across his chest and left arm, the blood spilling scarlet through the slashes. The forest was not impenetrable. There were thorns and poison plants, but also open spaces. Stick with those, you could get through. It looked like you could get through without touching anything, almost, and the children were doing that, scattering, finding their own paths out. But Wandle caught the screaming Shastern by his bloody wrist and towed him toward the loggers, because Shastern was his younger brother, because the loggers were close, because somebody would help a screaming child. The woodsman saw them and turned away. But one dropped his axe and jogged toward the child in zigzag fashion, avoiding what? Armory plants, a wildflower bed. Shastern went quiet under the woodsman's intense gaze. The woodsman pulled the leather armor away and wrapped Shastern's wounds in strips of clean cloth, pulling it tight. Wandle was trying to tell him about the other children. The woodsman looked up. "Who are you, boy?"
"I'm Wandle of Serpent's Walk."
Nobody gave his family name.
"I'm Krieg Miller."
"How many—" Wandle barely hesitated.
2 of us."
"Have they all got—"
He patted Shastern's armor.
"Leathers?"
"Some."
Krieg picked up cloth, a leather bottle, some other things. Now one of the others was shouting angrily while trying not to look at the children.
"Krieg, what do you want with those candle stubs? We've got work to do."
Krieg ignored him and followed the path as Wandle pointed it out. There were hurt children, widely scattered. Krieg dealt with them. Wandle didn't understand, until a long time later, why other loggers wouldn't help. Wandle took Shastern home through Dirty Birds to avoid bull pizzles. In Dirty Birds, a pair of adolescent lordkin would not let them pass.